Heat it up. Warm it up. What did Chris Cross say? Warm it up, Chris. I'm about to.
Warm it up, Chris. Yeah, for sure.
For sure.
You think all the young listeners know who Warm It Up Chris and Chris Cross is?
Nope.
Come on, baby.
But whatever.
I'm the Miggity Mac.
How many Miggities is in there?
Miggity. Three Miggities.
That's a tough Mac.
Did Miggity Mac have his name before the Big Mac? Who had the Mac first?
That's a good question.
That's a good question.
How many Mac?
If you guys know, leave it in the comments.
How many different Macs can you name in 5 seconds?
Mac Miller, Miggity
5,
Mac, Big
4,
Mac, Mac
3,
and Cheese,
2, 1.
Mac Harlow. That's Jack Harlow's brother.
Oh man. Welcome to episode 21.
21. Can you do something for me?
Episode 21. We are having a good time being back. Episode 20. Obviously, we came back from hiatus and it was a blast.
Yeah.
And everybody enjoyed it. The feedback was good. Of course. Expect nothing less. Mama always said, do it like you're doing it for TV. You feel me?
That's a smart mama.
Oh, man. So we are 10 days away from Christmas.
Woo.
Well, by the time they hear this, probably be closer to 9 days away from Christmas.
On the 9th day of Christmas, Garryans I gave to me. Dishin Dimes 21 episode. That's still in the works. I have an album coming out.
We still working on that. So
yeah.
are you all set?
For Christmas?
Yeah.
Well, I guess I hope all the stuff that I got for my family back in Michigan is not delayed. So shout out to those FedEx and UPS workers.
Yeah, and if you're in Michigan and you're listening, it's not that he may be ordered late, it's just delayed.
Yeah.
So don't be
difference.
Yeah. Don't be all mad. It's coming.
Yeah. But I won't be mad if my stuff's late. No, I'm just like. What about you? You got everything? You and the lovely wife?
We are all set. I think maybe waiting for a package or two to be delivered. But I think we're all set.
Yo, that's when do you think you were like totally done? Before December?
Nah, we had a good percentage done before December.
What's a good percentage? Because there's a difference. 40% of shooting is good, but 40% out of basketball is not good.
I would say that we were like 70%.
C minus.
Yeah.
That's tough. Well, unless it's basketball.
Unless you're basketball and you're shooting the lights out of that thing, man.
That is true.
Well, it depends. If you're behind the 3-point, that's great.
Yeah, true.
If you're in the paint, I don't know.
Well, I think maybe the free throw line is 70% is a little off, right?
Free throw.
But in the paint.
But in the paint, what are they?
Yo, 70% is killing it. Right?
What? I don't know. I got to look at that.
I mean, you look at Jalen Brunson. Jalen Brunson right now is tied for first with Jokic for the most points at the basket, like 5 feet and in. And Jalen Brunson is 6'2", and Jokic is obviously not 6'2".
Yeah.
I don't know how tall he is, but they average like, I think it was like, I don't even know. It had to have been like 4.1 points that close to the basket, but like at a 6'2" guard in the NBA, that's insane.
That's good. That's good. Did you see?
Yeah,
you
he's
see
doing his thing.
Embiid's over the last 5? 39.2.
Where? By the basket?
No, in the game.
Oh, just averaging?
Yeah.
Yo, that's insane.
39.2 points per game in the last 5.
Yo, so they just had their whole game plan change? Because they did not start off good.
No, they didn't. But
That's
I think
insane.
they're figuring it out.
You think he can win MVP this year? Definitely if you hold up those numbers, but
if the numbers hold, I don't know, man. I never put it past them. For some reason, they like Jokic all the time.
I don't know. Jokic is on my fantasy team. Yo, that dude gave me 93 points yesterday. Let's go. Let's go.
Oh man.
Yeah.
But yeah, what do any news items to cover?
Well, I know we talked about this a little bit, but just like to give thoughts and prayers out if you guys haven't heard the sad passing of Twitch. I'm not sure his full name. You probably know. But Twitch was a Ellen DeGeneres' old DJ. Very fun. Like just watching him on TikTok. That's how I kind of just know who he was because of whole COVID and TikTok was a thing, and he was just like him and his wife and his kids were one of like the best dancers, and they were just fun to watch. But he sadly passed. I don't even know if it's today or yesterday, but yeah. So thoughts and prayers out to him, his family. That's tough.
Yeah, it is tough. You never know what someone's battling. Like you said, he always had a smile on his face. Always seemed full of energy. Definitely shocking to hear that. So prayers out to his family, his kids, and all of the lives that he touched.
Yeah. And I know we had an episode after before the hiatus about mental health, and we had a couple of collegiate players on here. But it just doesn't change. If you are listening and you know us, if you don't know us, always reach out. We're here.
Absolutely.
You don't have to know us, but we are here. We like to think of ourselves as non-certified therapists. We give feedback, we listen. Everything stays, between whoever we're talking to. There's countless parents, players that come in and they talk to us, and it's good to have someone in your corner, and we are available to anyone and everyone.
Yeah, absolutely. So don't be afraid to reach out. If you may be battling something, we definitely will do our best to kind of work with you through it, and hopefully see that you get better through it.
Yeah.
So reach out.
Yeah. But yeah, so you got any topics on your mind?
Yeah, I do.
All right.
You want to start? Where do you want to start with the middle school basketball?
Yeah, we can start there.
There's so much to unravel with middle school basketball.
Wait, use unwrap because Christmas is right around the corner.
There's so much to unwrap. That's a good one.
Thank you.
But where do you want to start with that? It's middle school basketball is just like a heavy, man. I'm literally kind of like just going through some of that today.
Yeah. So I'm not from here, so all New Jersey middle school is a little bit different than I kind of grew up, but with New Jersey having they call it a JV team and a varsity team, and 6th graders can be on the 7th grade team, and the 7th graders can be on the 8th grade team. I've just never heard of this, but it's, I think we talked a little bit about this in a previous podcast, but, middle school basketball is just kind of, it can be, what's the right word? Not helpful in a way of, if your coach isn't really a basketball coach and it's just a teacher just trying to get, extra dough in his pocket or her pocket, and everyone is being equal playing time, or someone, isn't being equal playing time and they're only playing in a certain quarter or whatever the case is, that can be very stressful and just not helpful to players that actually care about the game and put in the time. But then on the other side, I have players coming in and that are young like sixth graders, and they're just killing it on their team, whether they're on the seventh grade or the eighth grade team. And it just, now just kind of being within that, like within the season, I can see benefits. And then, I see the other side of it. So I don't know, man. It's, you go ahead and I'll,
I think both of them have like their, so you can definitely see the confidence in both sides, right? So the younger ones that, do get the opportunity to kind of, play up on the varsity or be part of that, that more established group, those kids, their confidence levels kind of get that boost. Like, I'm the man, or I'm the girl. I'm doing my thing and this and that. Now, on the flip side of that, there's those that kind of, maybe not have the opportunity to kind of play with those kids,
right.
Which is, it's weird to kind of see, because like you said, there's some schools where the middle school coaches they're like all in. Do you know what I mean? They really work with the high school coaches to kind of develop a system and kind of stick with what this high school does. So there's no kind of like, unfamiliarity. That's a big word. I don't even know if I butchered that. Whatever.
Sounded good to me.
It's not foreign when they get to high school, right? Because they're kind of doing the same stuff. And then you have those that just don't care.
Yeah,
I won't say that they don't care, but they're just not.
They're just not bought in.
They're not bought in. They're not as knowledgeable as the high school, or the high school coaches don't kind of reach down and kind of give that guidance to them. So it's one of those tough things. I don't normally put a lot of stock into middle school basketball, but I'm seeing a couple instances where kids that are definitely skilled and definitely should have everything in their favor when it comes to that are kind of getting pushed to the side.
Yeah.
And I don't know what the reasons are, but they're definitely not basketball related. So it's difficult, to try to kind of tell a kid, hey, listen, I know what it's doing to your confidence. I know what it's, the message that it's sending to you, but you kind of have to look past it, because I can almost assure you it has nothing to do with basketball.
Oh, for sure. And, just kind of being a, I don't know if you want to call it a half glass full type of person, but, middle school basketball can be very eye-opening to a lot of players, but if it's done right. So meaning, if you're not keeping, let's say, 15 kids just because, you want to give everyone a chance. Like, I understand everyone deserves a chance to play a sport, but if we give everyone a chance, what is that going to tell those kids that don't work hard versus the kids that do work hard? They're getting they're getting equal playing time, or they're getting equal, if you want to call it rights, to be out there on the floor. It just, to me, it takes away the work that you have to put in, the motivation, the determination, because now, let's just say I'm a kid that, I don't work out, I don't do anything, and I just want to go try basketball. And I'm like, oh, I make the team. Oh, I make the A team or the whatever. And then in freshman year, oh, I'm making this team. And then by sophomore year, I'm still not doing anything because I'm just relying on last year I made the team. Then all of a sudden, out of nowhere, I get cut and I don't understand why.
Yeah.
Versus if you do get put down on an B team, or you don't make the team, you should be able to turn that into, all right, well, basketball really isn't for me, or like, no, I'm going to work toward this goal.
Yeah.
Right. So I got to earn it. And I think that's something in middle school basketball that in today's age I don't see. And it's telling the kids that they don't really have to work for something. Now, on the flip side of that, if you are the kid that's working for something and you're not getting the playing time, or you're not getting the, all the time that should be, rewarded to you, that should also motivate you to work even harder.
Yeah.
And like I said, at the end of the day, you can't really change a coach's mind, but you can definitely prove to them every practice, every time you're on the court, that, I'm gonna go, and I'm not just gonna play for I'm gonna, obviously play for myself, but I'm gonna also show you that you're wrong. I'm gonna show this person that they're wrong.
Yeah.
So it's kind of it's a good and bad thing. But it's the way you approach it. And, I think it's important for parents to kind of relay that to the kid.
Yeah.
And give them opportunities and outlets where they can go and work and, work harder and do this. And because there's a lot of resources out there now, but that's one thing, like I said, back and forth, that I wish kind of would change in the middle school season basketball.
Do you think that there is, and I had this thought process actually earlier today, we kind of are in a place where basketball, especially those involved in the basketball community, we're getting earlier and earlier where we are devoting so much time and effort to owning in on our skills. Do you think that it's fair or let me rephrase that. Do you think that it's time that the middle school basketball start taking it a little bit more serious? And I'm trying to think of the best way to say it. Like, for example, we have second and third graders that are playing AAU,
right?
And they're really, really into it. Not that I necessarily agree with it, but they're definitely more basketball is their thing if they're dedicating their time to AAU. And they're more, I would say that they would tend to be more talented. Mm-hmm. So when you get some of those that go to the middle school level, and now we have to kind of like regress because it's not, I don't want to say serious thing, but it's not valued as much. Like, how do we even begin to kind of like change that mindset? How do we begin to kind of like build some reform in the middle school to where it has value again?
Yeah. Honestly, the perfect answer is seventh graders play seventh grade, eighth grade play eighth grade. But here's the thing, you break it up in an A and B team. So if you have so many kids trying out, that's phenomenal. Because again, middle school is a time to experiment and experience other sports, what you want to do, right? That's why, if you play basketball, you can also try to wrestle, and like you can also play all the winter sports. But if you could break it up where it's an A and B team, one, you don't have to have 15 kids on just one team. You can split it up where it's, whatever it is, 7 and 8 or 8 and 7, whatever. But you take who you think should be on the A team, and you take who's on the B team. Now, these B team players, this team may not have the same amount of games as the A team, but they still have games. So, perfect example, this is kind of how my old middle school was ran. And our 8th grade year, there was an A team and a B team, mm-hmm. and both teams went undefeated. So as a collective 8th grade group, an A and a B team, total we were 18-0. Okay. No team's ever done that. But we played 10 games, and the B team played 8 games, depending on what the other school districts had. So if the other school district had a B team, that B team would play. If they didn't have a game. But that kind of showed the other kids, like, oh man, like, I really wish I had a game today, so now I have to be able to work at it.
Yeah.
And the prime example, I mean, dude, I tell every player and every parent this, that, if they get cut from the high school team, which, we're going to have an episode on that about players that unfortunately didn't make a team this year. But my best friend in middle school got cut from the A team, so he played on the B team, and that only pushed him because he really wanted to play basketball. And by senior year, we worked out, and by his senior year, he was an all-state basketball player. So that's what I'm saying. Like, if you can, I think that would be more. I think middle school basketball would be taken more seriously if it was A and B team, and you had a coach, even a coach that could do both, or you can have two different coaches. But you had that's where you can also scrimmage against each other. You can the seventh A team can play the eighth A team. They can scrimmage, but it just gives the kind of like that old like competitive feel that like, hey man, I'm not good enough yet, but I could get there. Or like, hey man, I made the A team. I got to be able to do everything to keep this spot because, next year I may get bumped down, which happened to my friend. He was on the 7th grade A team, because he was tall. And by 8th grade, there was a whole new slew of kids that, got taller, got better, and he was back down. So then that just opened his eyes that he had to work harder. So that's my solution. I mean, I don't know if you have a different one. I would love to hear it.
So, I mean, unfortunately, I think there is a little bit, more at play that would kind of make that just the easy answer. Obviously, there's school budgets, which, schools are having a tough time to fill right now. So, with an A and a B team, I think that you'd run into, just support issues, whether that be they have enough players, whether or not they have.
Uh-oh, he's about to sneeze. There it is, right in the mic.
Excuse me.
I hope that didn't blow out anybody's speakers.
My bad. I think there's some financial things that play into that, unfortunately. But I think that would be a great solution. I think that, as far as the two coaches go, I think that would be great. I do think that we're running into some issues where we don't have enough coaches that want to be involved. But those are some things that we'd have to sort out. Obviously they like to pull coaches from the inside. Can you get coaches from the outside that want to volunteer their time? I know that gets a little bit more, a little bit harder, but I do believe that there's some things that can be done. And I would love to see it get back to that place where, middle school basketball did mean something.
Yeah.
And there was a sense of pride to do it. I mean, obviously there's a sense of pride to play now, but obviously, like we talked about, there's some kids that just, are getting unfair treatment because of whatever, that are really talented and skilled. So yeah, there's some things that need to be done with that, but, I don't, there's some things that need to be done.
So who do we talk to? Is there a middle school?
There should be like
MSBA, a middle school basketball association.
I wish there was, man.
Of NJ of New Jersey.
I wish there was.
We could start it.
Yeah.
Why not?
Or we could just.
We ain't got time to start that. Come on, man.
We're lying. Oh man. See the problem when you're so passionate about it and you want to see so much change. There's only so much that you can do.
Yeah.
But yeah. Let's kind of segue. I was trying to think a smooth way to do that, but I couldn't think of a smooth way to do it. But
you know why I use transition? Transfer?
Like a transition play?
Or a transition on the video editing?
Maybe. But let's dive into the the mindset discussion. You know, we kind of talked about it when we a little bit in regards to the middle school, those that are kind of like balancing the high confidence because they're on the high team, or low confidence because they didn't, you know, they're not in the position that they want to be. But there's a mindset at play, and there's ultimately a mindset difference between the boys and the girls.
Yeah.
I'll let you dive into that.
So I'll speak from just like kind of the boys side since you have a daughter.
Okay. Boys versus girls. You go.
No, I mean, so, you know, the mindset, and we're talking about training or just
just basketball in general. Like what is your, like, how do you, or what are some of the differences that you see as you're training some of the kids, whether that be how they approach the game, how they approach training, how they approach their growth and development?
You know, so that's tough. So with the mindset of a boy, you can definitely see that they are pushed by, you know, their parents a little bit hard, a lot harder than you know, that you would like to see. But you also see it from the girls too. You know, if you come from a very competitive family, you know, and I think there's a fine line of motivating and pushing and challenging, you know, your player in a positive way. Mm-hmm. And then I think there's the ways that where you just over push and, you know, you don't really talk to your player that can kind of just set the mindset in a negative way where, you know, nothing that player does is going to be ever good enough. Mm-hmm. And, you know, honestly, I can honestly tell you that being here over the last year and a half, you know, and you've been here too, I think we've done a good job of changing not even just the parents, but just the players' mindset of like, hey, it's okay, you know, to be wrong, or, you know, to mess up and you know, try new things. Yeah. Where it's a lot more. It's a lot more of a freedom environment. You know, they can kind of like relax, spread their wings. But the mindset, I think, is, you know, when it comes to training is, you know, a lot different when you train with us, where it's, you know, we're obviously, you can't build a bad habit in an hour, or you can't build a good habit in an hour. Mm-hmm. So it's like anything, trial and error, right? So you might get it, you might not, but guess what? You have the blueprint of it, and you kind of you have an understanding after the session. So the mindset, I think, is just, you know, I think it's in a good place, especially here. But that's the other thing, you know, we only have a selective audience that comes here, and they don't, and the people that don't come here that maybe just listen to us or see us on social media, they don't get to experience it as much because they're not here. They're not around us. Yeah. So I think this is, you know, one of the reasons why we started to do this podcast was to reach out and kind of just lend our voices to those people that don't have the opportunity to come here. Yeah. So, and I'm just speaking on here, like, you know, I don't know about the mindset and everywhere else, but
yeah, I mean, our mindset is definitely different, and I think that those that have come in, they definitely have grown to appreciate that mindset, you know, that shift or that education of mindset, you know, especially when it comes to training, especially when it comes to, you know, the younger competitiveness that doesn't necessarily matter to a certain extent. Mm-hmm. So I think the parents themselves have grown to appreciate that. As far as like the kids, I think I see those mindset change, that their mindsets change as well.
Yeah.
I don't know how you feel about it, but I think that I would love to see the boys' mindset change a little bit more. We've kind of joked about it in here. Just watching them train, the differences between the boys and the girls. It's funny because I think naturally the boys, as they train, they have this, for lack of a better term, machismo attitude as they go into it, and
I can see that
everything needs to be almost like
stylish.
It needs
you got
to
to put
be
a little extra flavor on it.
Yeah, it's got to have some sauce on it, right? Whereas sometimes we're not looking for the sauce. Sometimes we just want to see seeing that you can follow the simple directions, right? And display that simply, right?
Well, I think you put it in a good perspective of undisciplined skills, right? So we have players all the time that might be skilled, but they're not disciplined. So, if we're trying to do, whatever it is, a dribble step, and we want your basketball and your inside foot to be on this mat at this particular moment, and that the kid can do it, but they're just like, nah, I ain't gonna do that. But it's like, or they do it, but then they do something before that, or they do something totally after, and it's like, nah, man, just like, we'll get to that point. Like, we just want to see if you can stay disciplined within this skill set that we're teaching you. And you're right. I think just the way the girls' mindset is, like, and I don't know if they just, they always just want to be perfect. And I'm not saying the boys don't want to be perfect, but it's, I think it's more of like if you want to call it like a kind of like a show off, razzle dazzle type thing to a boy, where the girls are just like, yo, I'm just going to get this done because, my attention to detail is on point, But I think you're totally right with that.
It's just definitely it's a strange thing to see and witness, but it is what it is, and I think with the boys, it's our job to kind of rein that undiscipline in, so that they can possibly not only grow their games, but just kind of start to feel like what it is to have that structure. So
and be in control, and start controlling your skills. I've seen it a lot of times where, if you have an undisciplined skilled kid, and they do get a couple of these discipline skills down, then it just kind of, it's just like it's a wave transfer where now all of a sudden they are playing in this game and they are more aware of their body control. They're aware of more disciplined skills. And it just starts, it could be anything as simple as a drop or a pocket, but it just starts with that and it just builds from there. But yeah,
no, you're right. What do you think, like, do you notice a difference when it comes to the boys' mindset of getting to the next level or playing at the next level versus the girls' mindset of playing at the next level, and kind of their approach to it? Not necessarily from a training aspect, but from a everything else aspect. Okay, so I got to get to this team, I got to do this team, I got to get here, versus the girls were kind of like, do you feel that they're more systematic in what they're doing, or they're kind of both all over the place?
I think the boys are slightly more all over the place than the girls, and it could be like a social thing. So it's like, I think, maybe it's a little bit easier for boys to just travel around and maybe make new connections, new friendships, but at the end of the day, they're kind of just zoned in on themselves. When You know, if it might be different with girls that, you know, I have this selective friends group that I've been playing with, and, you know, I don't want to leave them. But also too, if you're looking at it like, you know, for the best interest of the individual player, it might be that way where you're going to have to leave those friends or that group. Yeah, no, that's a tough one, man. I mean, just speaking from experience, I mean, it was tough for me. You know, I had to leave. You know, I didn't have to leave, but I ended up getting cut from a team that I was on, and I had to go and do a new team. But again, that was just you make new friends, you know, and I think I think that's one of the hardest part as such a kid. You know, is trying to. Man, I ain't gonna do that. Or if you look at like, you know, moving to a new school, it could be very intimidating. Yeah, it's a tough one, man. You know, I think it's a little less easier mentally for the boys, but I don't know, because I'm just speaking from experience.
Yeah, no, that makes sense. You
have any thoughts on that?
No, I do think that, you know, like you said, that the boys do have an easier time of just kind of like going other places and like going. And when I say going other places, like if it's, from my experience, if it's time for them to kind of like shift gears to maybe even a more advanced team or somewhere that there's going to be more challenging for them. They're more accepting of that, whereas a lot of times I feel like the girls get comfortable in the places that they are, and they're fearful of making those changes. But ultimately, I think for both groups, I think it's just a matter of what is it that's going to be beneficial for your journey.
Yeah.
Right. And I think that's the biggest point, that whether girls or boys, that we need to drive home is, you know, what's the best situation for you?
Yeah.
You know?
For sure.
But
well, and that's the thing too, like, you know, if you do go to a new team, you can, and if you know, are raised as a leader, you know, it's I had a coach that would always say, like, you know, if you go to an open gym, just look out for the one who's talking to all these new kids, because those are the people that you want to be like. Those are the true leaders. And you don't even have to know anybody, right? You just know, you know how to speak, you know about the game. You know, you could definitely start to build that role of becoming a leader. Because all of the ones that are not, they're going to be shy, and, you know, that's where, you know, you're probably going to hide in the corner. You're not going to take risk with the ball. So, you know, there's benefits to it, but you just got to be willing to attack those.
Yeah, no, I agree. You know. We had a question from a listener
right now.
Caller.
Hey,
caller, you are on the line. No, they sent in a little query.
Okay.
And they wanted to know the best players that you've worked with.
Not like an all-time, like, just like detail it up a little bit more.
What's the best players that what are the best players that, let's break it down into two pieces. All right, so we'll go best players, and I'm assuming this is what they meant by their question. But what are the best type of players that you enjoy working with? And what are some of the best players that you've worked with, and why?
Yeah. No, you know, I wish I kept track of how many players I've worked with. It's true. It's got to be over 1,000. Me being, you know, going over to Israel and training for a couple years, and just being in Michigan, being in New York and here. But I respond. I like the players that respond with a good personality, but also with a, there's a time to, within maybe a session, there's a time to be funny, joke around, but then it's right back to work. So I really relate to those hardworking, good personality, no matter if it's you are failing in that session or not. You always have a good personality where you can joke a little bit, but everything is, when you're doing your rep, it's serious. You're there to get it done. I think those are the best sessions because you just get more out of it as a player. And I'm not even speaking from a trainer aspect. I'm just as a player, you're having more fun. You're getting the most out of your session. You're learning, you're failing, you're getting all the things that are required to become a very well put together basketball player.
Yeah. Yep.
And those are like the keys that I look for, is your personality, your work ethic, and if you're receptive to maybe criticism and you ask questions, right? So, we bring people to our TV all the time to show them, and some of the ones that are, like, oh man, stop picking on me, or the other ones are like, oh, okay, like now it makes sense. Like, I love that because now, we're clicking, we're on all cylinders, we're just boom, boom, boom.
Yeah.
But those type of players, and, like I said, there's not a particular player, but I have worked with multiple players that fit in that category, and those are the best ones.
Yeah. No, I agree with that. At the end of the day, I think there's many trainers that would probably disagree. But me personally, as a trainer, I like to have that personal connection, right? So I think that that's important for several reasons, right? So we need to have trust between each other, that the things that I'm telling you or the things that I'm asking you to do are going to be beneficial for you, right? So one way that we can kind of get that trust is just understanding each other, being able to, like you said, being able to joke 1 minute and then get right back to business. Those are the players that I feel respect us. Those are the players that I feel are hungry to get better. And then, like I said, once you have that connection, then there's a foundation for us to kind of go through all of the things not only basketball is about, but now you're more comfortable reaching out when, you may be going through something.
Yeah. Unrelated to basketball.
Unrelated to basketball, which for me, that's important for me. But the best players, like you said, are those that, fit that personality mold. The best players are those that come in ready to work. Yep. The best players are those that come in and look forward to the challenge, find joy in the challenge, and aren't afraid to make those mistakes.
Yeah. And even just like the high touted players, right? They can set their egos aside and, kind of be, and they can kind of train like a kid, right? Because I know we've always said it before, but they believe in the dream. And, it's not like, hey, I'm this, overseas pro and I get paid, or, nowadays with college players getting paid, like, they actually come in and they can set that aside and they can just learn from a specialist like you or me. And those are the real gems, because not only do they have the talent, but they also have, the just like the overall mindset is like, all right, let's just do this.
Yeah. No, I know exactly what you mean.
Yeah. Yeah. So, I mean, I don't want to put anybody on blast, but do you have a favorite player?
Like a favorite player?
That you
or like,
just, that you can just name off the top of your head that no matter what, this session is going to be awesome because of it. Like, not even just their status, just like, and that's hard because you don't want to. Yeah, it's hard.
Mean, I won't say. I won't say, but I mean, there's certain players that, like you said, because they fit that mold.
Yeah.
That they make the difference of training or that session that much different. Right? So, you know, there's certain hours of my day that are, I'll say, higher than others because of those exact points, right? I know that this group of kids is going to come in here and work. I know this group of kids is going to, you know, get down to business. I know this group of kids is also going to be able to, you know, feed jokes back and forth. You know what I mean? And have that balance. So there's definitely those groups that I look forward to. But all in, I do love, you know, working with both groups. Me personally, I will tell you one thing that I do actually enjoy. So I think there's a lot of trainers that kind of gravitate to players that are very skilled, are very talented, and can kind of, I don't want to say make them look good. I really, really enjoy starting from the bottom.
Yeah.
You know, starting with that player that has all of those things that we just talked about, but is like just very, very, I won't say not good, but everything that they could do is just buried. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, there's certain movements and things that they can do that is like hidden underneath. And I'm sure you see it. Like, there's certain times where we can see it, and it's like, oh, I can't wait.
Yeah, it's like you want to fast forward time.
Absolutely.
But like, they're in like 3rd grade, 4th grade. Like,
yeah. But I would say collectively, like, we have, like, I know that we've talked about it in the past, like our middle school group. Yeah. Like, that group of kids is just amazing. And I don't think that they get enough credit for what they're capable of doing. So, you know, those are kids that obviously you want to fast forward, but I'm enjoying the time of just building and
you know what's crazy too is the emotions that they show, right? So there, I think the whole, when we first opened, we had all these middle school kids and they didn't show really any emotions, or they didn't know how. Yeah. And dude, showing emotion in basketball, whether it's training, whether it's like, basketball should be a spot where you could just get away and be free and just kind of enjoy your time. So if you're not smiling, if you're not interactive with your trainer within that session, it's just like, ugh. Yeah. Like, why are we doing this? But I think, you know, from that whole group, and you can also say, you know, our high school group and some of our college players, I think it was a big change of mind. But that middle school group, like, you know, they come in and they're super excited to be here. They dap us up, you know, and it's like, man, I wish this session would go longer because I just like hanging out with you.
No, that's definitely.
But the emotion factor is huge, and I don't think a lot of kids have that because maybe they just weren't told like, hey, it's okay to express your emotions. But like, you know, for me, it was basketball was like my office, right? So like my uncle would always tell me like, you know, that's your office. You do your thing. You get to be who you want to be out there. And even though I'm like 5'6", like I feel like I'm 6'7" out there. Like it's just a different world when you can be out there. Especially, you know, when you have a lot of skills and abilities that you can go to. So it makes you just kind of feel like you're invincible out there. And I think that's where a lot of kids, like our middle school kids, are starting to just kind of like touch the surface and just kind of feel that.
Yeah. But what I do want to do is make sure that everybody listening to this marks this time in the podcast, right? Because 5 years, 6 years, 7 years from now, there's going to be a group of kids that everybody is kind of talking about. They're the names in the shore, if they stick around, that are going to be like, wow, they are really, really good. And it reminds me a lot of when, Scotty and Brian were little. And now it's obviously they've grown. They were able to reach certain destinations, and that's what I'm wishing and hoping for this group, and can't wait to see it.
Yeah, and that's the cool thing about skill enhancement, right? Like, you don't lose these skills that you obtain, and there might be some rust that needs to be shaken off, but 5-10 minutes of going back to it, like everything starts to be repolished. And it's a real even just speaking as a player, me going through it, it's awesome. Like, it's just like, man, like, it's like you just dust it off, like your old whatever it is, and your toy, and you could play with it again. Like, yo, let's do this.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
But yeah, man.
So show emotion out there.
Show emotion. Have personality.
Have a personality.
Don't be afraid to be you. Be free on the court.
And be a risk taker.
Risk taker.
Because if you're not a risk taker, then all the hard work that you're putting in is just, kind of a waste. It's
a waste.
And don't be embarrassed when you try something and it doesn't work out. Like, this is what I try to tell people. If you watch an NBA game, NBA players, especially when they shoot from the corner, some of them, if not all of them, will hit the side of the backboard. And guess what? These guys get paid and they don't care.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's not like, oh man, I just shot that, I'm not going to shoot again. Like, I'm just going to speak for Jordan Clarkson. Like, I love watching that dude play because that dude is undersized. He's a risk taker. But like, sometimes he just throws up the wildest junk, but like, it doesn't faze him. And that's like the whole mindset why these players are where they're at, because it's just like, all right, next play. Like, that was a bonehead play, but no matter if I get on Shaqtin' a fool, no matter what it is, like, it's on to the next play. Like, it just doesn't stick with them. And I think a lot of players, especially in the high school level or middle school, it just sticks with them. And they're like, well, I guess I'm done for the season. Yeah. Like, dude, who cares, man? Shake it off.
Yep.
Like,
nah, you're absolutely right. You're absolutely right.
But yeah, man, that was a good one.
That was a good one.
I hope 21 was a good one for you.
Oh man. Another great one. We will be back next week.
Yes, we will.
With another great one.
Right before Christmas.
That is it. What is that the day before? That's Christmas Eve?
No. Christmas Eve is on a Saturday.
Oh, but it's close enough.
The 22nd?
No, that would be the 23rd.
The 23rd is a Friday?
Yeah, that's what I mean.
You want to do our podcast on a Friday?
No, it'll drop on a Friday.
That is true.
See what I mean? See what I did there?
Yes. Hey, Merry Christmas.
All right, guys, it's been real.
Hey, I just had one more question for you.
Shoot.
What happened to peace? Peace.